the basic metrics, which is defects versus defectives and units, DPMO. Okay, now I'll get into this. You see a car, right? In this car, you find some exclamatory marks. How many exclamatory marks do you see on the car? 2 of them? Okay, fine. That means you are on the right screen and it's clear and visible. Okay, fine, fantastic. Okay, now the question here is, a car is 1 unit. How many units are there on the screen? Let's see in the chat box. If one car is 1 unit, how many units are there on the screen? Now you see 9 units of car. This is called as units. Please write in your notebook. This is called as number of units. Very simple, right? There are some good cars which has passed the test, and there are some defective cars which has got rejected. How many of them are defective cars? Put it in the chat box. Okay, so most of you see 5, right? Okay, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. 5 defective cars. A defective cars may have many defects. How many of you agree with that? A defective car can have more than 1 defect. Now let's go into the detail. Defects versus defectives. See, for example, in this earlier, this car has got 2 defects, whereas this car has got only 1 defect. Of course, in this car, you can mark a defect here. It's somewhere inside. Okay. So quickly, let us understand the difference between defects and defectives. That's very important. Defects actually refers to individual flaws or imperfections in a product or service, whereas defectives refers to the units or items that contain 1 or more defects. If this is clear on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 if it is super clear. There's one difference between defects and defectives. Okay, the second one. Defects focus on specific issues or problems found in individual units, specific issues or problems, whereas defective focuses on total number of units that do not meet the quality standard. If this is also clear on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10. Defects can be classified as minor defect or major defect, okay, depending upon the impact they have on product functionality or appearance, okay, whereas defective does not have degrees of severity since it simply represents that unit is defective. If this is super clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box, because defects, you can have minor defect, major defect. Out of, in one car, there might be a small scratch and that can be a glass crack, okay. Glass crack may be a major defect, whereas a small, minute hairline crash. Okay, a defect is an attribute or a characteristic of a single item that does not conform to the desired specification. An attribute or a characteristic of single item that does not conform to the desired specification, whereas defective is an entire unit or item that fails to meet the quality standards. If this is clear, type CC, crystal clear in the chat box. So examples I'll tell you for those who want to understand this better. A scratch on the surface of the phone screen, a missing button on the shirt, a faulty component in the electronic device. These are all examples, whereas and the defective is a batch of shirts with incorrect stitching, the shipment of phones with malfunctioning touch screens, a production run of electronics with inconsistent. Okay. Now I'm going to explain something about DPMO or sigma value. All of you type DPMO in the chat box. Good. So this is something you should write on the notebook. This is very, very important part. And when you go for the interview and all, they'll ask what is DPMO, explain DPMO. What is sigma value, explain sigma value. So you should pay good attention to this. These are all very important metrics of Six Sigma, right? Like your health metrics is what is called BMI, they call, right? BMI. So it's an important metric for your health, right? What is your BMI? What is your sugar level? What is your, likewise, DPMO and sigma value are the important metrics. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about units. Okay. You saw 9 cars, so 9 units of cars. Okay. Opportunities. Okay. Suppose every specification requirement is an opportunity for defect. Okay. For example, if it is a shirt, the shirt means you should ensure that there are all the buttons should be intact. So there is an opportunity that a button can become defective. Okay. So the other thing is the stitching should be pakka. Okay. So stitching is another opportunity for defect. So I want proper stitching. I want proper buttons and so on and so forth. Okay. If it is an invoice, in the invoice, you should have the supplier name properly, the product properly, the supplier address properly, the GST numbers properly, and the quantity, the units properly, the price properly. So each and every component which has to be done properly is an opportunity. Later on, we are going to say that this opportunity for defects. Okay. If this is clear on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 if it is super, super clear. So number of opportunities is very, very important. Then defect, we have discussed in detail what is the defect. Okay. Be with me carefully, otherwise you'll miss the bus. So total opportunity is, for example, if it an invoice, for me only two things, let's say four things are very important. The supplier name, the quantity, price, okay, and maybe the GST number. Okay, so these are the four very important component of the invoice which should be correct, where I seriously look for. Okay, now suppose if you go to the passport, okay, passport name is your name, your passport number, your flight ticket, and there are some 4 or 5 things that they check. So these are all the opportunities. Suppose if you have, let's say that 10 invoices and there are 4 opportunities which can go wrong, 4 things that you're checking in each of the invoice. What is the total number of opportunities? Just put it in the chat box. You have 10 invoices. There are 4 things that you are checking, which is very important. There are 4 opportunities for defects. Okay. And totally, how many opportunities? Total number of opportunities is 10 into 10, 40. Very good. All of you are, I think, clear about that. We will talk about DPU, which is defects per unit. We'll talk about defects per opportunity. We'll talk about defect per million opportunities. Okay. So all of you write in your notebook. These are all very important metrics that you should know. TOP, DPU, DPO, and DPMO. Okay. And then finally the Z, which is called as a sigma. Okay. Now, total number of opportunity is nothing but number of units into opportunities. Please write down in your notebook. If it is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box. So I told you example of invoice. Invoice, 4 things are very critical in the invoice. Okay. I say it is 4 opportunity for defects. If there are 10 invoice, each invoice is 1 unit. So total number of opportunity is 10 into 4, which is 40. Defects per unit. Defects per unit is number of defects divided by total number of units. For example, one invoice can have 2 defects. The other invoice can have 1 defect. So total defects out of 10, 2 defective invoices. Okay. And there are 3 defects. So defects per unit is 3 divided by 10. If this is clear, on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me 9 or 10 if it is super, super clear. And defects per opportunity. We know total number of opportunities. So defects by total number of opportunities, defects per opportunity, and defects per million is just defects per opportunity into 10 power 6. I'll give you an exercise for that. How many of you are ready to solve that exercise? How many of you are ready? Just type ready in the chat box. Okay. So what I'll do is I will share with you an Excel sheet also. Okay. Now finally we'll find out the sigma capability. Okay, so far if you found this session interesting, useful, valuable, fantastic, awesome, put it in the chat box. Let me also get a dose of dopamine, get some inspiration from you, and then proceed with the session today. And going forward, the next 15 minutes is going to be awesome and super interesting. Okay, now units. I've told there is an invoice. Okay, now this is the invoice. How many of you can see the invoice on the screen? You can see, right? A unit is any item that is produced or liable for measurement or evaluation against certain criteria. In this case, the unit is invoice. We are going to check this invoice whether it is all correct or some incorrect entries are there in the invoice. Okay, so each invoice is 1 unit, number 1. Next, opportunities. Now, inside the invoice, there can be different types of errors. So in invoicing, what all things can go wrong, please put it in the chat box. Let me also read what all you are sharing. Suppose all of you must have done an invoice. All of you must have found some mistakes in invoices, right? So what are the possible mistakes that you see in an invoice? Okay. All right. So you can, the name address could go wrong. The contact details could go wrong. The invoice number could go wrong, right? The item descriptions, the quantity, 8 defects that are possible. Okay. 8 opportunities for defects. Okay, so number of opportunities, there are 8 opportunities for defect. Okay, if this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. For this example, we will take as there are 8 opportunities for defects. Okay, Now, the question here is, I have marked just, some crosses there to say these are all defects. Okay, so with that, the areas where defects could be produced is called as an opportunity. If you want a proper definition, the definition is areas where the defects could be produced. Okay, the chances in a unit to have a defect. So let's understand the definition of defects. Discrepancy in an operation or on an item not meeting the specification. If the definition of defect is clear, give me a 9 or 10 on a scale of super, if you're super clear. So the definition of opportunity should be clear and definition of defect also should be clear. All right, so there are 10 defects. So let's say that you have 10 defects and 8 opportunities for defects. Okay, now the question here is, what is the defect per unit? Can somebody say what is the defect per unit? How many units are there? Okay, defects per unit is the average number of, so the total defects by the number of units. So 10 defects were found in, let's say, 1,200 invoices. 10 defects were found in 1,200 invoices. I'm giving you an example. So 10 divided by 1,200. How many of you are clear about this? So type super clear in the chat box. Suppose you have 1,200 invoices and you found 10 defects. Then this is defects per unit is 1,200. Okay, good. If DPU is clear, you can write DPUSC, which is DPU is super clear. It is very simple. The defects per unit is clear, right? Okay, can we have a Q&A session? Type ready in the chat box if you're ready for a Q&A session. And the question is, DPU defects per unit measures. So DPU measures are defective parts in manufacturing process, defective units in service delivery process, defective products in production line, defects in single unit of output. What's the right answer as per the definition that we have seen? Good. So the correct answer is defects in a single unit of output. Fantastic answer. Good, 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 good. All of you who have done. Yes. So now we will get into total opportunities. Okay. Total opportunities is the number of units into the opportunities that are there. For example, 8 opportunities we saw in the invoice, and we had 1,200 units. So the total number of opportunities is 9,600 units. If this is clear on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 if it is super, super clear. Let's see how many of you have understood this clearly. Okay, if this is clear, then we'll go to defects per opportunity. Now, we saw that the defects per opportunity is defects by total number of opportunities. We said that there are 10 defects found and total number of opportunities is 9,600. Okay, 9,600. So defects per opportunity is 10 divided by 9,600, which is whatever you get, 0.001041. So if this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. The question now is DPMO. So let me ask this question. What is DPMO? Defective products manufacturing operations, defects per million opportunities, demand production management optimization. I think the answer is super easy because this is what is the topic for today. And the correct answer is yes, defects per million opportunities, right? Now the defects per million opportunity is nothing but the defects per opportunity in 10 power 6, and we had 10 divided by 9,600, which is 0.001041. That into 10 to the power of 6, which is million, is about 1041. If this is clear, type CC, crystal clear, in the chat box. I'll share with you the template also on this, okay? In 5 minutes, I'll share with you the template. Okay, so the question here is, the follow-up question on this is, which metrics is commonly used to assess the performance of the process in terms of DPMO? Okay, PPM, DPU, DPMO, and DPPM. Okay, just now we answered this question, so it should be super easy to answer this question, right? C, which is DPMO, defects per million opportunities. Fantastic. Okay, congratulations on whoever answered C. And so the question here is, DPMO help measure. What does DPMO help measure in the process? Okay, the percentage of defects in the final product, or number of opportunities for defects in the process, or number of defects found in the sample, or costs associated with defects. I think this is also a super easy answer question, right? Okay, this is number of opportunities for defects in a defects per million opportunities. Okay, that's right. B is the correct answer. Congratulations, all those who have typed B in the chat box. So the sigma value is nothing but the ability of the process to produce output within specification limits. So 10 defects found in 9,500 opportunities, 10. So there is a sigma table where you can find that for 1, 0, somewhere here, you will find that the sigma value is, let's say, 4.59 or something. Okay. So we will have quick examples also. I will give you examples, but the point here is I will want to share a template with you. Okay, I will just share the template in 1 minute, but then I wanted to revise with another example. Defects per unit is total number of defects by sample size. For example, 26 defects found in 10 units of products, it is 26 divided by 10. Okay, this is clear. So which metric represents the average number of defects observed per unit of the process? I think this is also a straightforward question. There's no rocket science in this. Defects per unit, right? So example of DPMO is, let's say, 2 defects generated in 100 with each of the units having 5 areas inspected. So 5 areas inspected is 5 opportunities, and total number of opportunities, the sample is 100 units. So how much is the total number of opportunities? Please put it in the chat box. 500 opportunities is the correct answer. Okay, so defects per unit is how much? 100 units are there, 2 defects are there. Defects per unit is how much? 2 divided by 500 is the right answer. Okay, so total number of defects per opportunity is how much? We said total number of opportunities is 500, and defects per opportunity is how much? You can just write the formula, that is okay. Defects per opportunity. Number of defects is 2, the total number of opportunity is 500, so 2 divided by 500. Okay, okay. So 2 divided by 500 into 10 power 6 is defects per million opportunities. Okay, so defects per unit is 2 divided by 100. Okay, defects per opportunity is 2 divided by 500. Defects per million opportunity is 2 divided by 500 into 10 power. This is super clear, means type, give me a 9 or 10 if it is super clear. So 4,000 is the DPMO. Okay, 4,000 is the defects per million opportunities. So PPM stands for, what does PPM stands for? I think all of you know this answer, right? Parts per million. So this is a straightforward answer. So parts per million is 1 million parts. Okay, whereas that's an internal metric that people generally use, parts per million. Okay, example, parts per million is number of rejected parts divided by number of parts manufactured into 10,000. Suppose 681 divided by total 35345 parts per million is into 10 power. It is just to exaggerate the total number of. So how PPM is calculated? So defective units produced multiplied by, or defective unit total number of opportunities of defects, or defective units divided by total defects, or defective unit divided by total. Which one is the right answer? Okay, for you, let's see if people are really reading this. So A is the right answer, divided by total number of units. Okay, produce. You can go through it leisurely later. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward. Another example is 4,500 permit applications per day. The audit shows that there are 300 defects. Okay, 12 key fields, that is total number of opportunities. Okay, so what is the total number of opportunities in this case? Let's quickly see who answers this question. What is the total number of opportunities? You can just, you need not give me the value. Okay, you can just say this into this, that is enough. 4,500 into 12 is the total number of opportunities. Okay, so defects per opportunity is how much? You can just give me the formula. Defects per opportunity is 300 defects divided by total number of opportunities, 12 into 4,500 into 10 power 6 is DPMO. Okay, fantastic. So I think all of you are this defects per opportunity is 300 divided by DPU is 300 divided by 4,500, and total number of opportunities is 4,500 into 12, which is 54,000, and DPO is 300 divided by this, which is 0.5. I think many people have given the right answer. Great. So DPMO is 5555. The short-term sigma value is 4.04 in the long term. I'll explain about short-term, long-term later. Okay, now I'm going to share the Excel sheet. If you want that, type share in the chat box. Meanwhile, if you found today's session interesting, useful, fantastic, awesome, just put it in the chat box.